Hey everybody, welcome to the very first episode, hopefully not the last, of Walking the Planks, the podcast on RogueDeckBuilder.com. I am your host, MJ Conroy, aka Sith Lord 066. Please go ahead and welcome my co-host, the Launchpad McQuack, to my Scrooge McDuck, Mr. Nate Plante.
Hey guys, this is Nate. Launchpad McQuack. Interesting.
Child of the 80s, man. Child of the 80s. All right, so this is the podcast that I've been trying to tease since prior to M13. We kind of decided that Kevin is not going to be able to do it. He will be a guest next week on the podcast. And by next week, I mean next time we do this. It's probably going to be like a bi-monthly thing. But Nate will be my co-host for the foreseeable future. So, first off, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about ourselves, because I know people love when you talk about yourselves. So, Nate, because I'm a magnanimous person, why don't you go first?
Sounds like a good idea because these people probably know nothing about me at all. So, right now I'm basically a senior in college. I'm studying game design, and a little bit of my history of magic. I started in Scars of Mirrodin, which sounds a little bit new to some of you old fogies out there.
Yeah.
Cough, cough. And basically, I've been playing pretty much outside the box since I started, but it's mostly because of like budget reasons rather than anything else. Although I really did like a Rug Delver deck that I built in the Innistrad Return to Ravnica standard.
Mm-hmm.
But I never had any results because I couldn't actually get out to tournaments, of course.
Yeah.
So how about yourself?
Well, I think I might have touched on this before. As far as my personal life, it's really not that important. But as far as my magic goes, I started off at the very beginning, man. Yeah, I am an old school beta player originally. Saw it at a local comic shop when I was buying probably some Batman comics or something. Picked up a pack or two. One of my other buddies played for like a minute. Then I couldn't find anybody to play with, so I was like, this is just another fad like Pogs. Got rid of all my cards. Pretty stupid. Then stopped playing until I want to say 99 or so, when there was a set called Battle Royale, and it was a box set that came with, I want to say, 3 decks representing all 5 colors of Magic, and in it was the instructions to how to play Two-Headed Giant and Emperor. And all my buddies picked this up, and we actually started playing like just religiously, like probably 2-3 times a week, and we only played like casual formats. I mean, like the original casual formats. So we played like Emperor, Two-Headed Giant, 2-on-2. We also played 5-star, which is when you each play one of the 5 colors and you're trying to kill your opposing 2 colors before anybody else can accomplish that feat. So kind of just played casually, and then started kind of dipping my toe into the competitive style. And when I started off, like, just as bad as I am now, man, just way worse. But I do miss damage on the stack. I will say that right up front. But my quote-unquote achieving crowning moment of glory, as far as people would say, is I think I placed 32 at a PTQ with a green-blue Madness deck that I homebrewed myself. I lost, like, after doing very, very well, I lost like 3 straight games to Sly. Which, for those of you who aren't as old as I am, is the original term for Red Deck wins. Yeah.
Yep.
But what I like to say is my greatest achievement is taking the zombie precon from I want to say it was I think it was Legions, and ripping it open, taking out like 2 or 3 land, adding in 2 like undead war chiefs and a soulless one, and then top 8ing at an FNM. So that to me is my best achievement. But then a thing called Mirrodin came out and just ruined Magic for me. I absolutely hated that block. So I quit playing for the whole Mirrodin block, and then as I was working as an assistant manager of a comic book store and they wanted me to run the tournaments, I had to play Kamigawa. And I only did that for like 2 sets, and then I was like, no, I'm just done. This is just awful. Like, this isn't my Magic anymore. Where is my, Sabo Tabox that like casts like on 8 or whatever, and is like barely like a 3/7 with like a really cool ability. This stuff is just broken. So I quit, and I stayed quit this time until the Scars of Mirrodin block also. And what got me back into it was Commander. My buddy had showed me Commander, and I was like, this is the best format ever. And also the story, actually, believe it or not. He was like, oh yeah, they just, they got braids. And I was like, oh, braids, I love braids, and he's like, no, but she doesn't do that anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean? No, she's white now. What? And he's like telling me like, oh, and Krovax is white, and like Miri's a vampire. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? So like the storyline just sounded really freaking cool. And then on top of it, like, and I will tell you, if you want to have some fun, find a old school like player that hasn't joined back into Magic lately, and try to explain to them what a Planeswalker is. Because I just kept asking the same question. Aren't we the Planeswalkers? I thought that we were the Planeswalkers. Why do I have another Planeswalker? I thought I'm the Planeswalker.
And then the difference between old and new walkers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like these Neo walkers, like these emo people that couldn't even shine Urzas into Teferi's boots. Yeah, these guys. So, anyway, that's how I got back into Magic. And then I basically played mainly casual. I started playing White Weenie as competitive, which I played from, I want to say Mirrodin Besieged all the way to Dark Ascension when it was no longer just viable. And then I just kind of slowly gotten back out of competitive Magic, as I really don't care for it, and just kind of maintained casual. And then got plucked from obscurity by Kevin, and here I am today. So yeah, that's my story.
I'm still in obscurity right now.
Stick with me, kid. You'll go nowhere. Anyway, so yeah, that's our background. None of that actually qualifies us to do this. I want to make that very clear. Nate is a much better player than I am.
It's just odd because I've been playing for so little time in comparison, but
yeah, I don't care.
Just happens.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, know your own weaknesses. That's what I say. Like I was telling Nate earlier, real quickly. I got up this morning and was watching Force Strategy on YouTube, and man, if you ever think my play is bad, just watch that cat, because now I know what you guys are doing when you're watching my videos. Because I'm screaming at my table, what are you doing? It has Death Touch, you moron. Anyway, so we're going to just kind of talk a little bit about some stuff. Basically, a lot of this is not going to be like cutting edge anymore. And I feel that I need to still go over it just because I said I was going to, and I don't want to be made a liar. So like, there's going to be, we'll talk about the new legend rule, which isn't new.
It's been a long time in production right now.
yeah. We're going to be talking about Theros, which is no longer being spoiled, obviously. But yeah, so just sit back, enjoy the ride. Hopefully you're still with us 7 minutes in. So let's get this show on the road. So Nate, the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and I think it's kind of key to our particular site, roguedeckbuilder.com, is the pros and cons of playing a net deck and a homebrew. So first, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, first, I think we should define what a net deck is.
Okay, well...
That's an important distinction to make.
Well, I got to bring it to you, buddy, but we'd probably have like a whole hour podcast on what is a net deck. Oh, yeah, real quickly before I forget, these are all just opinions. None of these reflect RogueDeckBuilder.com or any future subsidiaries. These are all just opinions of Nate and myself, neither of which are probably right, because you can't have a right or wrong opinion. So we'll just set that right out there up front. Try to eliminate some of that hate. I'm not trying to act like a know-it-all. I'm just telling you what I think.
Except for you, MJ. All your opinions are just wrong. Yeah, well, obviously.
Most of the time.
According to YouTube. Anyways, so what is a net deck? Well, I mean, in my personal opinion, I would consider a net deck to be like a deck that's played very often and that everybody generally accepts to know what it is. For example, in Standard right now, you have like Mono Black Devotion
Mm-hmm.
or Mono Blue Devotion.
Right.
I can just say those deck names, and you know exactly what they are.
I pretty much know that you're playing the Thassa, you're comboing with the Nykthos, and then when you're playing Mono Black, the key is the Night Veil Spectre to make sure you don't hit your Devotion, and Grey Merchant is going to probably kill me with Desecration Demons. So even someone like me, who really isn't a standard player, when you say Mono Black, Mono Blue, like in my head, I pretty much got the deck list.
Right, and that right there is basically the pro and con to play in that deck or not to play in that deck. Because when you play in that deck, people generally know what you're playing, and that could be good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, explain. Why you say it can be good and bad?
Well, I'm gonna get into that.
Okay.
That can be good and bad.
Okay.
Because when people know what you're playing, obviously they can expect certain cards out of you, and they can prepare for those cards,
mm-hmm.
and they can play around those cards. And when you're playing a deck that's a rogue deck,
mm-hmm.
you have cards that they might not expect, or they might think you have cards that you don't have. And just that small advantage can be the tipping point. Now, the thing about net decks, though, is that most of them have been refined and honed to be good, even though people know what you have, because they're so played so often. Like people know the card choices.
Right.
So if you have a really good honed, defined net deck, like the Mono Black Devotion list that the players have been using to the 4-0 dailies, people know what you have, but
mm-hmm.
But if you play it better than everybody else, you can still win tournaments.
And it kind of then it goes upon your skill more than the actual card you're playing.
Right. And of course the other issue that comes in with net decks is the price.
Right. Well, they're but, and that's by default. I mean, if it is the net deck, it's because it's the most powerful. It's probably one of the most played, and that drives up the price of the card. Like yes. I was explaining to you the one day when Kevin opted to do the speculation thing, and I made the joke to you that I would have won. And this is 100% true, and Kevin can verify this. When he asked me, hey, do the speculation 25 ticket thing, I said, I'm just going to buy $25 worth of Desecration Demons.
Yep.
And I would have made like $95 off of those Desecration Demons, because at the time they were like on tickets. They were like $1.05, and now, like last time I checked, I haven't checked recently, but they were like $5.85. And that's like the thing. Like once you decide to do that net deck, it drives up the price. Like when pros start playing a card, no matter what that card is, it's gonna raise the price, inversely. Yeah.
And like I was telling you,
but I think, and I agree with almost everything you just said.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest cons to the net deck is the sideboard. When you're sideboarding, and I've noticed this more and more, reading people's articles and things like that. They tell you the sideboard plans now.
Oh, yeah.
You're almost on autopilot as far as, like, when you look at, BBD's list or whatever, he has, like, okay, this is what you take out, put in for Mono Red. This is what you take out, put in for Esper. This is what you take out, put in for Mono Blue. And I think it actually kind of hinders people to think creatively. And by doing that, when you come across my stupid blue-green Master Biomancer deck that you've never seen before, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't know how to sideboard.
You don't know what to sideboard, and a lot of times I've actually gotten better after sideboard against somebody where they've sideboarded completely wrong against me.
Yeah, that can be a major problem. That also comes down to the player skill as well, though,
mm-hmm.
because just piloting a deck and knowing how to build a deck are two completely separate skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, believe me, I know that.
Obviously. I mean, we are claiming to be deck builders. I don't know if we've accomplished that, but they're totally different skills. And a lot of people who pilot decks extremely well wouldn't necessarily be able to build a deck. And I think that's a major problem with Magic, but I think we'll get into that in a later podcast because we can talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
the entire time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that brings up a very good point. Like a lot of these, even like you said, professionals, like you'll when they're interviewed for X tournament or whatever, they'll always say, "Oh, I'm playing this person's list," and it's usually a lot of the same type of people. You always hear what's his name, Shaheen.
The Israel.
Yeah,
player.
yeah.
Yes, I know who you're talking.
He's
Shahar
one.
Shenhar.
Yeah, thank you. Shahar Shenhar is one that they always say, "Oh, I'm piloting his deck." Sam Black is another one. When they talk to like 5 or 6 people, it's like, "Oh, I'm playing Sam Black's deck list. I'm playing Sam Black's deck list."
Yeah, and Patrick Chapin.
Patrick Chapin is another one, right? So yeah, you are 100% correct. A lot of people, and I'm definitely not putting myself in that category. But a lot of people, I would say that I'm a better deck builder than I am.
Yeah, I'd say your skill is definitely in deck building rather than
right.
skill.
Well, I mean,
playing,
and Nate can kind of testify to this because I send him like a deck list like every other day.
Yeah.
A lot of my decks, like I just can't make online because like you, I'm on a very strict budget. So I do make decks a lot. Now whether they would be good or not, that's totally, debatable.
Yeah.
But I do think at least they'd be fun.
Yeah, which is kind of hard to tell how good a deck would be before you can test it.
That's true. Yeah, the 0 level test deck. But all right. Next, I want to talk about the new legend rule, and basically
new legend rule.
New in quotations, obviously. The legend rule. It's newish. The newer. I don't know. They've changed some of these rules. Like I said, I miss damage on the stack. That's all I know. Basically, I want to talk about it, like how it has affected, or I mean, this isn't going to be nearly as interesting because, like, when originally it popped up, I'm like, oh, we could talk about this and like how you can now Jace into Jace and like it's going to be awesome. But now we've actually seen it, so we can actually state definitively this is sort of how it has affected the game. And I do think it in different formats it has affected the game differently.
Yeah.
So let's just start with the most basic one that everybody knows, standard.
Well, I actually think that it's not good for constructed, and I'm basing this basically on the fact that it's very easy to do really broken things, and it's hard to answer legendary permanents, whereas before it wasn't as hard to answer them. Which, I mean, you could obviously argue that that's a good thing for the game.
Mm-hmm.
To not have a immediate answer for something like Thrun. Do you want to take up that mantle?
Well, I mean, Thrun. I mean, we could probably talk about it modern, standard. Well, but do you think, speaking of standard though, do you think this was done in knowing that the gods were coming out and them wanting to make the gods even harder to kill?
I'm sure that was their intention. Yeah, because I mean, well, and I also think that it was directed for EDH in particular because, or Commander, excuse me.
No,
because
I always call it EDH. So.
Well, they want us to call it Commander. In any case,
I'm not paid by. Last time I checked, I haven't gotten a royalty check from Wizards of the Coast. So I'm calling it Elder Dragon Highlanders. What I learned it by, and until
that's true.
Until I start getting paid from them, that's what I'm going to call it.
We just want to be clear with
sure.
In any case, I think it was designed with EDH in mind because the fact that you could play the same commander as someone else and basically neither of you could play your commanders basically all game was just dumb for the format.
See, now I didn't want to get into Commander right away, but since you did bring it up, and that's like my quote unquote area of expertise, I actually think it's worse for Commander. And the reason is just one simple dude, Ural the Miststalker. The only answer you could ever really have for him was a clone effect. Like, he survives just about everything else. Like, I mean, he's going to get like an indestructibility or a what are those things called when you can remove the enchantment and they don't die. The Umbras. Umbras. Yeah.
Totem armor. Yeah.
Yeah. Totems or Umbras. Yeah. But like, I think it's much, much worse that you can't use clone effects to kill a problem commander now.
Well, I mean, that goes back to what I was saying. Like, the fact that there's no easy answer for legendary permanents, it's I mean, that's an interesting issue that will probably keep coming up until
Yeah.
until someone figures something out to do with it. But I do like the fact that that both players can now have um, the same kind of planeswalker or and stuff like that as well because I mean it really does. I feel it helps in EH because oftentimes you're playing the same colors as at least one other person on the table, and you all have the same, generally speaking, the same like planeswalkers because there's not that many of them.
Right.
And before you couldn't have the planeswalker like ever because the other person would just do it and nobody would have anything, and that's kind of, well, I mean, that's how I like to play EH, but that's not how other people like to have EH.
See, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's actually, at least for Commander format, I think it's not worse, but I don't think it was thought through enough. Like I said, you got Ural, you have Geist of Saint Traff now as a commander that I've seen quite a bit. Like being able to answer something like that, especially when you're in a color that doesn't have any kind of verdict effect. I mean, what do you like if you're playing mono green? I mean, granted, if you're playing mono green, you couldn't answer it with a clone anyway.
Yeah,
but like
you can't really do much. You
but
can,
like blue, for example. I mean, you're playing mono blue. You used to have clone effects. Now, what do you? I mean, you can't bounce it. You can't. It's hexproof. What are you going to do? Like Cyclonic Rift. That's your option.
Yeah, there's not like
like.
I mean, and one could argue that that's a good thing for the game that specific colors can't do everything. But I don't know. I think we'll need to wait and see if no, wait and see to see if we'll need to wait and see if it's really like super broken. But I think it's just really not good in a competitive constructed formats. I think obviously, like if you were just talking about just the gods, then it's a good thing. But so it's both players can have the same god, whatever.
Right.
But the part where it gets really tricky is where it comes to legendary lands.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that Nykthos, man.
Yeah.
It makes that card so much better than it would have been any other way.
Yeah.
Because you could just do so many broken things. I mean, I can't count how many times I've seen it in, like, watching Star Cities on Twitch or on YouTube or whatever, where someone, Nykthos, put in, like, 6 mana, use 2 of that to play the next Nykthos, let the first one die, put in 6 more, and then, like, next thing you know, it's like, oh, Craterhoof, well, not Craterhoof, but, like, giant
you have 10 mana,
insert giant Polychronus here type thing.
Yeah, and that part of it is, I think it's really risky. Like I think it's very easy to break that in a legendary land or in some type of like legendary artifact or something. We haven't really seen many of those right now. I guess we have the whip and stuff, but something that does something really broken when it comes into play, and the fact that it should be legendary, so that restriction's there, but if you have another one, you can play another one, use it immediately. Yeah. I think that remains to be seen if it's going to be broken. But I was actually specifically thinking about like Gaia's Cradle in Legacy.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. Like people don't even really think about the rules interactions with older formats until someone else breaks it, basically. And I think that's a scary thing for Legacy and older formats, is that someone could just break something like that, like tomorrow, taking this Legacy deck to a tournament that's unbeatable because it has this new rules interaction. I don't know if that necessarily is the case with this rule change, but
well, I mean, I think that kind of happens no matter what. I mean, look at Eggs, like when it made its quote unquote modern debut, when it just like annihilated absolutely everything, and by the way, it just seemed like the most unfun deck to either play or play against ever. And I'm totally glad they banned it, even though I don't play modern.
Well, Eggs was a metagame choice for that tournament, in any case. But we'll talk about that. I guess we want to segue into that.
That's actually wow, man! Like it's like I'm a professional at this. Yeah. So this was our next topic, and I just masterfully segued into it. What does the Pro Tour mean to different types of formats, mainly standard? And like, really, how much should that inform your decision to play a deck? Now, I've been talking about this literally since the Pro Tour Theros just happened, and like Mono Blue Devotion was the thing, and I thought it was a terrible deck. Not terrible as in like, oh my god, this deck is awful, but like, oh my god, this deck is so easily beaten. Like, if you just do X and Y, that I did not think it was going to last, and people were like, no, it's great. Like, and I'm like, no, I really don't. You know, I'm picking up my Thassa. Like, I picked up Thassa for like, what did I say, like $4 or $5 originally.
Yep.
And then I turned around and sold it when it hit 15 because I was like, yeah, no, it's going to go back down, and you know, I ended up being right. But the thing is, I think people put too much stock in Pro Tour. I think what people got to remember is, as I was telling, you know, you and Kevin and my other friend Brian, I think it's just their version of the F&M. Like, they're playing specifically for that tournament. They're not trying to create an entire format. I mean, it happens that way, obviously. But I think they're just trying to, like, think, okay, you know, if I think mono red is the thing, then the next level is mono blue, and, you know, level 1s and level 2s, and wow, that just gets way too confusing for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, you hear pros talking about that all the time, like, you know, this is the level 1 deck, this is the level 2 deck, and then how you beat level 1 and level 2 is what you want to go with. But then, what if everybody else comes to that conclusion and goes to like the next level and is like, but they're beating that deck? It just blows my mind, man. Like, and like I said, like, and I don't play you know, competitive Magic in real life, or even online for that matter. But I remember my buddy called me the week after Pro Tour, and he was like, dude, I just, like, you know, 5-0'd the F&M, and I was like, oh, how'd you do? He's like, oh, I played Esper and everybody else was playing mono blue.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, and I just wrecked it.
I mean, exactly, and that's sort of the thing. Like I mentioned earlier, Eggs was a metagame choice for that modern Pro Tour because he knew that, or at least assumed that people wouldn't be playing much graveyard hate, and he was right. Nobody was playing any graveyard hate. People had like Rakdos charms, and he was able to just run over everybody because nobody had any way to deal with him. And of course, this leads people to then pick up Eggs and start playing Eggs all the time. Well, one, that's horrible for the game, as we can see by the modern bannings, because Eggs is such a slow deck and it's miserable to play.
It's miserable to watch, man.
Yeah.
Like, I sat there and like I'm watching that Pro Tour, and I'm watching that guy play the Eggs, and I'm watching his opponent, man, and I'm like, if it was me, I'd just be like, I'm gonna go have lunch. You can when I'm done, when you're done playing with yourself over there, you know, just holler for me. I'm gonna go eat a sandwich or something, because this is taking forever. Like, I'm not conceding because you may just miss, and if you miss, like, it's game over for you.
That's the worst part about that. But again, the reason Eggs got banned wasn't because it won the Pro Tour.
No, it was because it was boring.
Well, it was because people started picking it up, and it became a bandwagon deck because it won the Pro Tour. So I guess you could say, okay, it's because it won the Pro Tour, but it's more because everybody started bandwagoning onto it because of that. Like,
see, I actually thought, and I mean, this is just an opinion, but I actually think it's because Wizard of the Coast looked at the footage and was like, wow, this is lame. This is bad for business type of thing. we need to nip this in bud, because we don't want another 2 tournaments of this.
Right.
Nobody's going to watch this stuff.
That's what would have happened if they allowed it to continue in the metagame. As like,
not only that, is that deck, I mean, like, say prior to the banning, is that even possible to play online? Do you have enough time in your 20 minutes to put every single thing on the stack the way you need to?
I'm sure someone has tried that, but
I can't imagine it, man.
I'm not crazy enough to play that.
Like, I've seen people playing just, you know, regular Storm, and I mean, we're talking professionals.
Yeah.
Playing Storm online and only having like 2 to 3 minutes left when they finally, you know, combo off the second time in game 2.
Like, even like LSV, who's a really fast player.
That's who I was referring to, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he can run really low on time when he's playing Storm. If you watch some of his videos, like, that's like one of his, like,
that's,
you know,
probably
best
his
decks.
signature deck.
Yeah.
I mean, besides, like, you know, Sly in Cube. And
he's a fast player in that.
Legacy Elves. Like, those are probably, like, oh, and then any type of Delver prior to the.
Even elves, he played like was running low on time in elves, and he was playing really fast. So.
Oh yeah, with the Nettle Sentinels and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I like combo decks and all, but man, I'm a slow enough player as it is. I can't afford to be doing that.
We're kind of diverging from the topic, though.
Yeah, look, man. Have you watched any of my videos? Half the time I can't even remember what I said 5 minutes ago.
So let's get back. Yeah,
this is free form, buddy. It's my podcast. I created this.
Well, I mean, I have.
You know,
I have to say about Mono Blue and why I think it's not.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
I'm just because I think you'll agree with me that I mean, it was entirely a metagame choice against Red Deck Wings.
Absolutely. It was hate for Red Deck Wins, which everybody thought was going to be the big thing.
Well, it was, and Mono Blue stomped Red Deck Wins, and that's the reason why you saw 3 of them in the top 8, and you didn't see. I don't think there was a single Red Deck Wins in the top 8.
No, there wasn't. There was the first iteration of Mono Black Devotion.
Yeah.
And then there was Esper, which was played by Wafa Tapa. Which I still think if he just hadn't run bad, he would have won the whole thing. Because I don't think Mono Blue can hold up to Esper, but he just ran really bad. If I'm not mistaken, he got like either land flooded or land screwed.
And that's part of Magic.
Absolutely. Variance is definitely the part. You all have X amount of lands and X amount of spells in your deck. You know, you have the exact same percentage of drawing whatever.
Yeah.
So
even though Mono Blue should lose to Esper, obviously it won the Pro Tour, and again, people bandwagon onto it.
Right.
And the part of the thing though is on Moto, the metagame is completely different.
Absolutely.
Than what happened at the Pro Tour.
We're actually usually ahead, I've noticed, on the metagame.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because people are spamming out daily events and things.
Right. We had Mono Black Devotion about 2 weeks before it was an actual thing.
Yeah. And speaking of Mono Blue Devotion, you can check my tapped out page. I have a Mono Blue Devotion list that I made before the Pro Tour. And I didn't think it was very good, specifically because people are playing against me with decks that were like basically Esper or Bug Control at the time, and White Black Midrange, which Mono Blue Devotion loses really hard to all of those decks. And so again, it was basically a metagame choice against Red Deck Wins, and you can't. So people, I mean, probably people who watch this channel aren't going to just jump onto the bandwagon metagame, but you can't just assume that a deck like that is by far the best deck in a format, just because it won Pro Tour.
And on top of that brings us to our next topic, what I like to call paper, scissors, rocking, which is, you know, where do you sit in? Like, you know, if you know that everybody's playing Mono Blue, maybe do you play Esper, but then does somebody think, oh, well, you know, these people are going to play Esper because Mono Blue is big, so then I'm going to go one level above that and play, you know, this deck that beats Esper.
Well, and that's where us rogue decking people come in, because
and that's where I think we have the advantage, actually.
Right. You right. As rogue deck builders, we have to try to make a deck that not necessarily is just, you know, like a Johnny combo deck or doing something crazy. We're trying to make a deck that's...
Well, it depends on what kind of rogue deck builder you are, I guess. You just basically read my mantra. That's all I'm ever trying to do.
But like, even your decks, like, you're not going to play a deck that just loses to Red Deck Wins if that's what everybody else is playing.
No. In fact, actually, I had before, during the Pro Tour, I had the very first deck I made was Mono Black Devotion, but not. My win condition was Mind Grind. I didn't say it was a good Mono Black Devotion deck, but I did. No, I mean, legitly, I have, and I don't know if I can show proof or not because I don't think I ever made a video with it. But I had 4 Pack Rats, and I had the Night Bell Specters, and I had other stuff. But like, the idea, my winning thing was to be able to go ahead and Nykthos for, you know, a lot of mana. I was playing a much more control-y version, and basically go off with Mind Grind and like Mind Grind you for 15 or 20 and just try to win with a mill.
Yeah, and you also had a Debt to the Deathless list before
Yes,
Kevin made his videos.
Yeah, that is also true. I did have.
Yes, I saw the list.
That's
I
the
can
deathless.
testify.
Was my second idea. I was like, oh well, if I don't have to, and that's where I'm at. Like that's how I play. Like I just think, oh, I'll come up with this thing that nobody ever sees coming, and yeah, it's funny and fun. That is the main thing of my decks is like I try to make them fun to play, but it attacks you from such a crazy angle that you don't see it coming. Like I just showed you my my Dead Bridge chant list, and after showing you the deck, you still had no clue what it was trying to do.
Well, I mean, I knew what it was trying to do, which was dump things in the yard and
Right.
bring back, I guess, whatever your one kill condition is, over and over again.
Yeah.
What was it Aurelius Fury or something, which
Fury.
made no sense?
Well,
yeah, you're playing four color Dead Bridge chant.
Five color
Dead Bridge chant. Okay.
Yes, thank you. And well, we'll talk about that another time. This isn't supposed to be about like how great of a deck builder or terrible of a deck builder I am. Depending on your outlook, it could be either.
For the record, that deck, I'll just say there was some interesting card choices in there that didn't really fit with the rest of the deck, but
what else?
we won't go into that now.
No, we'll do that when I make a video for it, if ever. All right, so yeah, so we talked about that. Next, we're going to talk about Theros. Again, this is a leftover remnant of from when I teased this when Theros had yet to be spoiled. But now, instead of talking about the Theros spoilers, which wouldn't make any sense at all, we're going to talk about the Theros hits and the misses. And I'll let you go first, since I'm such a good host.
You just don't know what you want to talk about.
I'd rather argue with you than actually come up with my own points.
That's fine.
I think that's what any good host really does.
Right. Okay. So, well, I mean, I'd say the first place to start in Theros is the gods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I think, well, in Commander, I think all the gods are hits, but I don't necessarily know about Standard. How do you feel about Standard?
Well, in Standard, I mean, I like definitely Erebos. I think was probably the most underrated coming out. I saw him and thought, wow, that's going to get ridiculous. Just being able to draw a card for a life and 2 mana is ridiculous.
See, I actually really disagree because in Standard, like paying that much to draw 1 card is just not worth it most of the time, and I don't think any list really runs at least more than 1 Erebos in like the sideboard or something. I don't think Mono Black Devotion, I don't think even runs Erebos.
It runs, I think, 1 in the sideboard.
It's a 1 of, yeah. Okay.
And I honestly think it's actually more to negate life gain from certain decks, like the black-white deck.
That's really the only relevant ability on him most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's underrated. I mean, I think it's underrated.
I mean, you've seen me play Erebos in Commander, and you can attest to the fact that when you have that much life to play with and mana in Commander's case, because I can do broken things like Cabal Coffers and nick those for 1,000,000 mana.
Stupid mages.
Yeah, so pay. Then I can pay all my life, and it's not that much of a cost because 2 life out of 40 is
nothing, especially when you're trying to get as low as
a lot
possible,
less
so you can
than
handle me.
2 life out of 20, especially when you're playing against things like Red Deck Wins and stuff.
Right.
Which that's a reason why Erebos is not the greatest. Like obviously against like Esper Control or something like that, Erebos would be a lot better because you don't really care about your life total. But a lot of the popular decks right now are aggro decks or like aggro mid-range decks.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really be paying your life against that. But one dude I thought was would be played a lot more and isn't seeing any play at all is Heliod.
Yeah, Heliod just not really getting the love really from anybody other than Craig Wesco. I think had a couple of lists with him in it, obviously. But I thought first thing I thought is sphere of safety with Heliod just could get really broken, but it's such a grindy deck that I don't think anyone would want to play it.
It really is a grindy deck, and that's part of the reason why I like Heliod, because he is a grindy deck
yeah.
play. Like you're not trying to win quickly, but
No.
when you when you do get into a winning position, very few things can kill you in that point.
The thing I think that's the biggest miss out of just in general the gods is the fact that they don't bestow their own abilities upon themselves.
That's a huge flavor miss. Like, why doesn't Nylea trample?
Yes, right?
Come on.
Why doesn't Heliod have vigilance? Like, why? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why does Airboth have death touch? Like, come on.
Well,
He's the god of the dead. He should have death anyways.
I think he pretty much has like pseudo death touch. He's a 5/7.
It doesn't.
That's indestructible.
Flavor.
He can pretty much block anything that isn't flying and kill it. Most things, anyway.
Flavor reasons. Flavor reasons.
Yeah.
Should have death touch. In any case,
what do you think of the cycle of hate your own color cards?
the cycle of hate your own color, isn't that in M14?
No, that's in Theros. Like they have the one blue counter blue spell, one black
right.
kill black creature.
I'm like
one
totally
white destroy
here.
a white enchantment or exile a white enchantment or something
right.
like that.
I mean, I think they're good for the game, but you know, they're obviously sideboard cards. But I can see if there came to be like a problem deck with like, oh yeah, everybody's playing mono black devotion because it's the best deck. All right, time to main board 4 dark betrayals and do.
I have noticed a lot of the lists now are running anywhere between 2 to 3 in the sideboard now.
Yeah, seriously.
It's very, very good against mono black because obviously you can't Doomblade Desecration Demons. Yeah, you could ultimate price.
Yeah, I've seen people running ultimate price over Doom.
Well, I've seen people like in general now. If I'm not mistaken, BBD's list actually runs only 2 blades to 2 ultimate prices now.
Yeah,
just because black is such a thing. Even
that'll change very quickly. Actually, I think ultimate price is probably going to be played over Doomblade because of that reason.
Yeah,
like and obviously it's good against, you know, monocolored things, which a lot of decks are only running monocolored creatures right now. There's not really very many multicolored creatures out there, whereas before, obviously, in Return to Ravnica, there was a lot.
Right. Well, I think Dark Betrayal is mainly just like an answer to the Nightbell Spectre and things like that, because obviously you can't get rid of it with Ultimate Price, you can't get rid of it with Doomblade. Really, that's one of, I mean, besides like a Devour Flesh with only that on board, that's pretty much your only answer. And that is a card that I thought from the very beginning was underrated. I played that back in the Gate Crash. I had a, you know, Lazov, what was his name? The Lich from Innistrad. You know what I'm talking about. Where you cast the dude
Haven
from there.
Lich, yeah.
Yeah. And I had that, and then the mill guy, the aberration.
The Millie Mill guy?
Yeah, you know, Millie the mill guy. You know, from down the street.
Consuming aberration, there
Thank
we go.
you. Anyway. Dude, I don't play this, like, I'm doing this all off of memory, babies. Like, I ain't cheating by having, like, all these stuff up. I'm just all off of memory, which is, you know, shot because I'm old.
Well, I'm kind of cheating. I'm looking at the deck list.
Oh, that's
standard.
Whatever. But, yeah, so see, my addled ramblings are slightly more impressive now that Nate sounds like very concise, but that's because he's looking at things. I, on the other hand, just like to fly by the seat of my pants. Because we all know how well that turns out. Well, okay, obviously let's talk about the ones that everybody thought were going to be big coming into Theros, which was Anger of the Gods was one that I kept hearing about. Polychronos was another one. What was the other ones? The green-white hate bear that gets the hexproof. Fleecemane Lion. Yeah. Yep. That was another one, and I haven't really seen anything from him.
Well, what you just mentioned was Anger the Gods, and that card kind of destroys green-white, but at the same time, green-white doesn't really have a place in this current metagame, honestly.
Which is surprising. I mean, because they really, I mean, Voice, you would think, you know, Voice of Resurgence would have some place. That card is pretty ridiculous.
That card is pretty ridiculous, but the thing is, though, that it's only really good against, like, control, because I mean, other decks, whatever. You have a thing that makes a token. Okay, I can just kill all your other stuff, and I have big dudes, which is what Mono Black Devotion is doing. And that's why that deck's not really like that's why Green White's not really good against Mono Black. Like it's good against like control decks, but the control decks are such a small part of the metagame right now. Honestly, like I mean, I think if Esper control or Blue White control, like how you thought that Esper was going to be like the best deck, the deck to beat.
I still think it will be eventually. I still think it's better than at least any of the options that have come out so far.
I think it's good against all the devotion decks. It's bad against like red deck wins, but if that deck becomes a thing again, like a huge thing, green white aggro will see a comeback, and then you'll start to see more Anger of the Gods. But I think both of those cards that you mentioned were Anger of the Gods and Fleece Mane. They're both good cards for standard. Like I wouldn't say that they're not good cards. Like I would say that they're underrated right now, and you could probably get them for cheap and make a deck with them.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that, because that's how I felt about Desecration Demon.
Yeah.
When it was released, I was like, "Oh my god, this is ridiculous." And everyone's like, "No, it's terrible." And I'm like, "No, it's really, really good. It just doesn't have the deck yet."
I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was terrible against Lingering Souls and all the removal that was rampant in that metagame. Like, again, it all comes down to metagame. You're talking about like efficient removal spells, like Return to Ravnica and Innistrad had them.
Oh yeah,
a lot of them. And yeah, that specifically, that was the reason that Desecration Demon didn't see play, was that there was efficient removal and there was Lingering Souls to stop him.
Well, there was actually like a rogue blacklist that was being played every once in a while. One of my friends played. I don't know if I want to give credit to Conley Woods, but I could be wrong. But it ran like the Desecration Demons, the Lilianas, the
Conley Woods running demons, like
yeah.
6/6 demons. No way.
Geralf's Messengers, I think. It just ran like basically mono black good stuff.
Yeah, there was zombies running around forever in Innistrad standard. As soon as Innistrad was legal,
standard, yeah, Innistrad.
As soon as Innistrad was legal, whenever it was legal, people were trying to run mono black zombies or blue black or red black zombies. But
prior to the other block cycling out, I know that was like the deck to beat, because you had Phyrexian Obliterator in there.
Well, everyone thought that it was the deck to beat.
Oh, well, at least I'm taking this from my local metagame, because at this point I was still playing competitively. That was the deck to beat. Like, that was the hardest one to deal with at our local shop.
Yeah, everyone thought it was going to be like, oh my god, this deck is going to be insane in this standard coming up. But then everybody prepared for that, and everybody hated it out of the format, generally speaking. Like, it came to be where, okay, you're going to play a zombies deck, but everybody has their deck tailor-made to beat zombies because everyone thinks it's going to be a problem.
Right.
And,
well, I just ran White Weenie anyway.
Yeah.
Because I had the cards, I spent all the money on those, and I couldn't afford to do something else, so I just kept adapting the White Weenie like a modern day, well, not a modern day, since he's still alive. Craig Weska's still like modern day Craig Weska is not what to say, but like as a local version of Craig Weska, I guess.
Yeah.
I just kept adapting my White Weenie deck, and I'll be honest, like I did really good with it. For like 2 blocks, like I would hit like top 3 over and over and over again. And actually, let's talk about that. We're gonna skip this different casual formats, because I mean I don't think it's that interesting. Other than somebody like myself,
we'll save that for a different podcast.
Yeah, maybe when the Commander thing comes out, we'll do a whole just casual.
Yeah.
All right, but let's actually talk about this. What about? And Craig Wesko has gone on record of stating that even though sometimes the white list isn't the best list, okay, and he knows that, it's still the best for him, because he's the most comfortable with it. He has the most practice with it. Do you think there's like value to that? Like, for example, I played that white list forever. Now, it was obviously inferior to the decks that were taking its place, but I still did pretty well because I knew the intricacies of that deck inside and out.
Oh, that's absolutely like a huge part about deck building and player skill. Like, if you're really comfortable with playing a specific kind of deck, even if it's worse or bad against a specific kind of deck, like the skill with that deck can make up for it. That was very abstract, but you know what I'm saying. Like, okay, so if you,
Well, it doesn't matter if I know what you're saying. The
if you
listeners
play,
have
yeah,
to
I know.
what
I'm
you're
saying, so I'm gonna make an example now.
All right.
If you play red deck wins like every single standard format,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going into a new standard format. Guess which deck you should be trying to brew? It should be trying to brew an aggro deck, a red-based aggro deck. Like, that's what you should be trying to make.
Well,
like, regardless.
I'm actually of the firm belief that no matter what's going on in standard, when a new standard cycles in, you should probably be brewing Sly. Red deck wins.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost inevitably a valid thing to do.
So, some type of aggro deck. You can go white weenie too, if that's what.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
That's the way you swing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's the sort of thing. But like when I was playing, I basically got my start in like tempo decks,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say Delver decks, but it wasn't really like a Delver deck like you think of when you say
Oh, believe me, when you say Delver deck, I have a very specific deck in mind.
right. You're
A
thinking
deck
of
that I
blue-white,
absolutely hate.
the blue-white Delver deck.
Yes.
That everybody, yeah. Okay, that's not the
Moreland
Delver deck that
Haunts.
I was saying. I was saying like a Delver deck, like I guess it was somewhat similar in the sense that I had Ponders and Delvers,
Mhm.
and that was like the only card that I had in common with the.
I don't think that was somewhat similar then.
What?
Well, if the only cards you had in common were Delvers and Ponders, it's not really similar.
Well, I had Snapcasters too, but
Oh.
it was post Scars of Mirrodin rotation, so I didn't even have Ponders at that point. But
Mhm.
like I was saying, like that deck was a sick deck for me. Like, I loved playing that deck, and I was really good with that deck, which was it was like a rug tempo deck where rug being red, blue, green. If for those of you who don't know, where I was playing like Kyrian Dryads and
Mhm.
all sorts of like.
So you were playing like almost like a Miracle
Small
Grow
creatures.
style Delver.
Yeah, it was like a Miracle Grow style deck where I would just play small creatures and tempo cards and just try to make a big Kyrian Dryad or get like a Rancor on a Delver and just get in there for little bits of damage at a time and eventually just win by grinding them out,
just
basically.
nugging them like every
Yeah.
turn. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the kind of deck that I really liked to play, and it really worked for me. But something like that is tough to actually build from standard to standard.
Oh yeah.
Like right now, that is not really an option at all.
No.
Like Mono Blue Devotion is close to it, but not. It's a totally different kind of deck, in my opinion.
And I actually think that Mono Blue Devotion is way worse than the old Delver was.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
the old Delver, it was like you sit down and like you literally had an 80% chance of playing against Delver. The really only other decks I used to see at the same time were probably the Wesco version of White Weenie, but that was very rare, and the Mill Nephalia Dronyard blue black Esper white deck that I absolutely hate playing against.
Speaking of which, that was the deck I played at the end of the last standard season.
Oh yeah.
I played the blue black control.
The LSV version, or
Yeah, mainly because of LSV actually, because I saw his videos. I'm like,
yeah,
this deck seems really fun for me to play, and I picked it up and tried to play it, and I had some success with it, but it was at the same time, it's fun to play, but it's
you playing a Griefer deck. Wow, what a shock!
it's miserable to play against, and I
No.
understand that.
I can definitely understand. I definitely know why you wanted to play it then.
I'm already gonna draw the hate comments for that one now too.
No, I
Oh,
doubt
you
it.
play blue black control?
You gotta remember, dude. My very first video was a land destruction for Gathering Magic. So,
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing a deck like that.
well, I don't think there's anything wrong with really playing any deck per se. I mean, you're like, and that could be another topic for another day. But like, when you're at an FNM or any kind of tournament, your goal is to win. I would imagine it's not
Well,
to
that could be
curry favor.
I mean, at FNM, your goal could be to just play and have a good time.
Yeah, but you could do that without paying the $5-6, right? You could just go to a shop and just play for fun. Then
My shop actually has free standard for FNMs, but
oh wow,
we're not gonna talk about that because
like we're not gonna.
I can never get out to that.
Well, not only that, like
the sore spot in
we have to if they want a little what's the word I'm looking, publicity. I need a little scratch first.
Well,
no free plugs on this show.
I can never even get out to my local game store anyways, because obviously it's on Friday nights, and I'm always working on Friday nights, so that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I work midnight on Friday too, so not that I would do it anyway. I mean,
yeah.
All right, so the next topic is something I'm a lot more comfortable and have more opinions on. It's the EDH spoilers, Commander spoilers, if you're so inclined. Basically, we got the list. They actually come out tomorrow in real life. And I'll get on my soapbox after we talk about this first. But what do you think of them? I mean, I think they're pretty good. What's your opinions, Nate?
I mean, I think we're pretty much in agreement that the Grixis deck is the one that we all want.
Yeah, considering like when I said we were going to do the 25 ticket challenge, I had already decided like I'm getting the Grixis one. And then I asked Nate, okay, which one are you buying? And he's like, oh, I think I'm going to go with Grixis. I'm like, oh, man, tough luck there, kid. I'm getting the Grixis one.
I mean,
and then like it's like Kelvin jumps on about, 15, 20 minutes later. He's like, I think I'm going to get the Grixis one. It's like, guess what, buddy? Not only are you not getting the Grixis one, Nate already picked this one. This is what you get for being late, bud.
Yeah, so, and then I guess in second runner-up for me was the Naya deck, because I want to play something different. Then if I can't play what I'm used to playing, I want to just play something totally different. Which the Naya deck is quite different than what I usually play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. See, I'm just going to go under the assumption that I'm trying to help you, like span your horizons. It's not just me. It's not just me being greedy and being like, oh, Nakusar, I want to build around that.
Well, of course, it has nothing to do with the fact that the Grixis deck is just, in my opinion, just straight up better. Of course.
Well, not once I make I'll make it straight up worse once I do my
more money cards, more everything else. But
yeah. So let's just go over the cycles. We'll go over the commanders first. Okay, we got Derevi, the Imperial Tactician. It's Bant colors, green, white, blue. 2/3 flyer. Whenever it enters the battlefield or a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may tap or untap in a permanent. But the nifty thing is, it is not the first card to reference the. Well, actually, I think it was the first card to reference the command zone. And it has the special ability of no matter what your tax is, you just pay one extra, colorless, and you can put it on the battlefield.
I don't think it's the first card. I think there was what was it? Oh, Skullbriar or something. One of the commanders.
No, because Skullbriar actually doesn't reference command zone specifically. It says any other zone other than any zone other than your library. It keeps the counters. It's something like that. It doesn't actually say command zone.
In any case, there were other cards that have interacted with the command zone, but Derevi in particular.
It actually references specifically the command zone.
Right. I think it's actually a very interesting card, based on the fact that it's very easy to infinite combo with it, which we can debate about how good that is or how bad that is. But the fact that it can infinite combo and it can't be counterspelled is actually really interesting, from a commander standpoint.
How would you go infinite with it?
Well, I've already seen one with where you can, because it untaps the target permanent, so you can put it into play.
Once
and
it deals damage.
No, when it
enters the battlefield. Yeah. Okay,
right.
I'm sorry.
So if you can put it into play and you have a land that taps for more than 4 and makes multiple colors or something like that.
What mythical land is this? Because I need to pick it up.
No, there was a creature that I saw. It makes like green, white, blue, or it makes mana for. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know if we're living in magical Christmas land.
We're not living in magical Christmas land.
I have no clue what you're referring to.
there is a creature that makes mana based on the colors that you have on the battlefield.
Okay.
At the moment in permanence,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously you can untap that, and it makes green, white, blue, and then you can sacrifice Derevi to an Ashnod's altar,
Mm-hmm.
and right there you have
Colorless mana.
right. You have 1 green, white, blue, or 2 green, white, blue, and then you can put Derevi back on the battlefield, and you can do it again, ad nauseum.
Why would you have 2 green, white, blue? I'm just confused. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
You have two from Ashnod's altar. Anyways,
you have 2 colorless, yeah.
right. So
Oh, then you have. Oh, I see what you're saying. 2
right.
colorless / green, white, blue. I thought you were saying you have 2 green, white, blue. I'm like, what? I don't know. Anyway. All right.
Right.
So
Very interesting for the viewers. But anyways,
the viewers that can't watch anything because this is an audio podcast.
Listeners, whatever.
Anyway,
specifics. So I think that aspect of it is very interesting as far as a commander is concerned. Like the fact that you can just put it into play whenever and nobody can really interact with you putting it into play makes it, a very interesting commander just from that. Like, even if you're not going infinite with it.
But why can't anybody interact with you? You
because
can counter it. You can definitely
you can counter the ability. You can't counter the you can't counterspell it because
sure,
the ability is
crumple.
No, you can't counter put Derevi onto the battlefield. It's an ability. So you can stifle it. You can
I don't know.
Skill mage it.
Oh, put Derevi on the battlefield from. Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you can't really interact with it.
You would absolutely have to stifle it, and that only gets you once, and then they could just do it again.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's an interesting aspect of Derevi.
I think you may have swayed me around, not to getting this deck, but I originally thought this was terrible, but yeah, the intricacies you're talking about is actually very good.
Yeah, and it's that makes it very good against I guess a lot of the problem decks, I guess, in competitive quote unquote commander.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think that that's really a good way to.
And I thought of it from a completely different angle, which is one of the beauties of Commander. That's one of the reasons I refuse to do deck lists, is because you just allow your own creativity to go wild. I thought of it as a Voltron. Because one of the problems with the Voltron generals is they get more and more expensive every single time. But with this one, I mean, it's costing you 4 every time. You just load it up, put as many equipment as you possibly can, and save all your mana just to keep loading it up and attacking.
Oh, I guess that's one way to go with it. Obviously, that is not at all what I thought of.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of Commander. It totally could be different.
Right.
All right. So then the next legend in that Bant cycle is going to be, now this one's actually I'm looking at because I have no way to memorize these. There's Rune of the Hidden Realm, who's 2 green, white, and blue, 4/4 Vigilance Trample, pay 2, exile another target creature, and then you basically blink it, but only at the beginning of the next end step.
So this card, I don't think it's very good. No, personally,
I actually agree.
I think a lot of people will agree with that. It's a 4/4 for 5 in 3 colors, which doesn't. I mean, that seems a little low to me, but well, whatever. I don't think this card's even worth talking about.
The only thing worth talking about this card is the flavor texts. I love it. Time and space are just new battlefields to be mastered.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, and the fact that it's a Rhino soldier.
Yeah,
is
it's a
cool
Rhino soldier. I mean, you can go with your Rhino tribal, I guess. But I guess it wants to abuse enter the battlefield effects. I guess this with Avenger of Zendikar could be good. I on Terastodon maybe.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. You could make it work, but I think there's other commanders that could make it better. With the Hidden Realm.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And then the final one in the cycle is well, actually we don't need to worry about that. Those are just reprints.
We're just talking about the new cards.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about the new cards. All right, so then we got the Naya, which is Gaji the Honor one, first one, 2, and I'm just doing these sort of pseudo alphabetically, which is why I didn't say Marath, even though Marath is the one that's on the box.
Yeah.
Gaji the Honor one is 2 colorless, red, white, green, Whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents or a planeswalker an opponent controls, that creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. It's a 4/4. Now this is like the whole new cycle of the vowels, sort of like the curses and the vowels. Like this is basically just a vow on a stick, sort of. Like they don't have to not attack you, but if they decide to attack another person, like their dudes are getting bigger. And I like this a lot. I think this definitely lends to my favorite part of Commander, which is the social aspect, the politicking, the just having fun with friends. Like, maybe you should attack Nate because you're gonna get +2/+0 if you do.
Yeah, I like this as a card. I don't think it's a good commander though.
No, I agree. Like, this is definitely a good of the 199, one of the 99.
Yeah.
It more so I don't like the card. I like the idea of the card. Let me just say that.
Oh, I like it as a card too.
Yeah.
Just because it pumps all your guys up.
I think it'd be better if it was like an enchantment or something.
I think this card in particular will fit right into a Hazon deck. I don't know if you've seen any of those recently, but
not recently, but I mean I've seen them before.
One of my good friends in real life plays a Hazon deck, and yeah, this card would fit right into that deck. Like, let's make a bunch of sand, and then all your sand are now 3/1s.
Yeah,
have fun.
Well, not only that, you get the effect also. So anytime you're attacking, it's +2/+0. So.
And you convince other people to attack. Right. No, people are just going to attack the Hazon player once he plays the sand. But in any case,
nobody likes sand tokens. Next, we got Marath, Will of the Wild, a red, green, white for a legendary elemental beast. When he enters the battlefield, he gets a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. So this actually gets better the more times you produce this from your command zone. So he then has the ability of X, remove X 1/1 counters from him. You put the 1/1 counters on a target creature, or he can deal X damage to target creature or player, or you can put an XX green elemental creature token on the battlefield, and X can never be 0.
Right, and this
which I'm glad they put that in there.
Well, they had to. They had to put that in there, or else you could go infinite.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yep.
But yeah, this guy is actually the reason why I want to get the Naya deck. Like this, he seems like a really fun and interesting commander.
Yes.
To build around.
It seems like a more fair Gave.
Yeah, and more fun Gave.
Yeah.
Because you could do other things like, oh, there's a problem creature. Okay, kill it.
Right. Now this is the type of creature, like I said. Now, do you think this is the type of creature you want to build around? Or is this just something that's just going to be like, oh, this effect is really cool, and he's just not going to be like, I mean, it's going to be important as far as the deck goes, but not like I'm not building the deck around this.
Well, spoilers: when I do the 25 ticket challenge, this is going to be I'm going to build around Marath.
Okay. All right. Well then, say no more because I want to be surprised just like everybody else.
Yes.
Right.
But I think he fits right into the Naya deck that they have there, which is a very good thing for the game itself. If we can talk about that. Like he fits right into the Naya deck as the commander. Like they have Mael in there, and Mael is generally probably the most popular Naya commander, which is probably why she's in there.
Yeah.
But Marath fits right in as the commander as well, which it kind of attacks it from a different angle than most Naya decks have been doing. This is the kind of card that like this is an aggro card basically.
Right.
And it's a very good aggro commander, in my opinion.
No, I mean I kind of agree. I think you also kind of want to sort of combo with it, like as far as like. You almost don't mind when it's going to the command zone. Like you almost kind of want to run it into things just to get more counters. And
absolutely.
Luckily, it's not in green blue, so you can't go crazy with Voral or anything like that. Yeah. But all right. So next we got Jaleva, the Nephalia Scourge. She's 1, and then the Grixis colors blue, black, red. Legendary vampire wizard. When she enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top X cards of his or her library, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast her. And whenever she attacks, you can cast an instant or sorcery card, exile with it without paying its mana cost. And she's a 1/3.
Oh, you
I like the art. No, I
like
really
that?
do. Like every time I look at it, I go, "Wow, this seems like." I'm not sure if Ashiok is a guy or a girl, but if it is a dude, like this probably looks like this is his girlfriend.
That's a very good description of it. That's not exactly where I was going with it,
Well,
but okay.
I'm a crazy dude. Like this
Um,
is how I think of things.
so
That's about all I can say about it
I'm
because
just.
I actually think it's a pretty terrible card. In all
I mean, I think
honesty,
it's an interesting card.
it's
But
an interesting
I don't think
card, as like interesting as like I have an extra arm.
you haven't seen
That is
this
interesting.
before.
Yeah, but I don't like it. I like when I make my 25 ticket challenge. I'm pretty sure this is going to get axed. I don't think it has any place, at least in the deck that I'm building. Um, but like I don't even like the only way I could see playing this is if I know in advance you're playing your Grixis deck,
Yeah.
and then yes, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to play this as my general because I
Alright.
know you have a crap load of sorceries and instants.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing to do. Yeah. I mean, you can this is one person you can easily a person commander you can easily build around.
Yeah, I mean, this could be almost like the Grixis version of Melik if you're doing it.
Yeah.
You can make it pretty good,
You want to
and you
have
could play Melik in the deck.
right, and I think you could build around it, but I don't think it would be a very good deck. It would be a
No.
fun deck.
Yes,
Be a fun
I
deck for
agree.
sure.
It would be just like a Melik deck, basically.
Well, and I guess that's a thing to to mention. Like if you're sitting down with Jelliva, people aren't going to be targeting.
Yes, this is very true. Like there is that social aspect where if you sit down with this card, like I'm not gonna. Even if Nate did it, I probably would still kill him.
Oh, come on. If I sat down
No,
with
because I know what's in the deck. I don't even care about your general. Like, I'm not worried about Gwendolyn DeCourcy. I'm worried about the crap that's inside that deck. I'm worried about the other 99 from you.
Well, if I was running that deck with Jelliva as my commander,
I actually think it'd be better.
I would play Jelliva.
Yeah, I actually think this would be much better than Gwendolyn.
I'll save Gwendolyn for my rogue tribal deck, which
Yeah.
I'll make eventually.
I already made one, man.
Speaking of what is it? Creature types.
Yeah.
Vampire Wizard's actually an interesting creature type.
Oh yeah, just like the one I'm about to get to, the Zombie Wizard. You have the one that I'm going to build my deck around, Nakusar, the Mind Razor, which is the actual reason that I decided to go Grixis. Originally, I was thinking Esper because I liked Aloro, but when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, Zombie Wizard! Oh, that's awesome!" And then like the picture looks cool, and like I love the flavor text again. It's his enemies wondered if the Lich King's brutal death and unnatural rebirth had been his plans all along.
Yeah.
Love it. It's so awesome.
Yeah, Nekusar is really cool.
But also his ability. He's at the beginning of each player's draw step. The player draws an additional card, and whenever an opponent draws a card, he deals damage to it to that player.
This is the kind of card that you want to run in like a bear hug sort of deck where
That's what I'm going.
giving everybody resources,
Yeah.
but you're also dealing
And then
damage.
taking those resources away also. Like
Yes.
you're in black, which is a lot of discards. So you can hand them cards, make them take damage, then make them take damage for discarding cards. It's going to be a thing of beauty, my friend. Like I already have like 20.
Taketh away.
I have Ooh, that's a good name for the deck. Like I have like 27 cards already that I want to add to my Nakusar deck.
See, when you said that Jelliva would fit right into my Grixis deck, I actually think Nekasar would be much better in that deck as a commander. Just for I mean, for a flavor standpoint, like his ability is much better, fits much better with that deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's because that deck's kind of a bear huggy deck where I try to just, okay, everybody has nothing. Go ahead and do something.
Right. All right. So we're kind of running a little bit long. So we're going to go ahead and go to Alora next. 3 colorless, white, blue, black, giant soldier. At the beginning of your upkeep, gain 2 life. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. Each opponent loses 1. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if he's in the command zone, you gain 2 life.
Right.
4/5.
This card is one of the reasons why I was looking at the Esper deck in particular.
This card is ridiculous, I think.
Yeah, this card is really good. The only thing is, though, that the rest of the Esper deck is not the greatest in my opinion. Um, obviously this he would be a great card to build around. Much better than the uninteresting Shroom of the Hegemon
Yeah.
like combo decks that people are running around with.
Well, actually, that's a good segue into the next and the other general.
Oh God.
Which is the what I call the fair Shroom. I don't mind it. The Sidri Galvanic Genius, white, blue, black for a human wizard. Pay a blue, target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost until end of turn. Pay a white and a black, target artifact gains death touch, lifelink until end of turn.
Well, I really like the fact that you can make other people's artifacts into creatures.
Yes.
Because that's a really good way to kill
God.
people's soul rings and other things. Yeah, Wrath. Oh, someone casts Wrath. Okay, I make all of your artifacts into creatures, and now you have no artifacts.
Right.
Mana rocks specifically. Yeah. I think that's a really good commander to answer problem decks like, oh, I'm gonna play. No, no, not that deck.
Oh well, no, that answers your deck.
Like people are doing broken things with like mana crypts and mana vaults and things.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna animate your mana crypt. It dies. Have fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay, and then what's the last one? Oh, the Jund. We got Prosh, Sky Raider of Kur, who's obviously a dragon. 3 colorless, red, black, green. Whenever you cast them, you put in X01 goblin creature tokens, where X is the amount of mana cast.
Kobolds.
Whatever. No, they're named kobolds. They're actually red kobold creature tokens.
Yeah, you said goblins.
I don't care. Don't the dragons usually put in goblins? Anyway, that's beside the point. You sack a dude, and he gets +1/+0 until end of turn. He's a 5/5.
He's the Sky Raider of Care, man. All he makes is kobolds.
Yeah.
And he seems like a really good Voltron commander, but I wouldn't play him personally.
I think it's terrible, to be honest. Like
I just like kobolds.
It costs 6 to start. So
I just like kobolds. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't care. When you cast him, okay, you immediately get 6 kobolds. The first time you cast him.
Sure.
And then then,
yeah. So then you can make him an 11/5. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess. Whisper Silk Cloak and a couple equipments, and he's lethal.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't have to sack a kobold. You can sack anything.
Sack anything. And the fact that he's obviously Jund. Jund has a lot of ways to interact with sacrifice effects like Grave Pacts and things like that. So the fact that he himself is a sacrifice outlet is a good thing to have for a Jund deck.
Well, see, that's why I actually like his partner in the deck much better, which is the Shattergang brothers. They're 3/3. They are goblins. They're goblin artificers. Artificer, even though it's 2 dudes, which makes no sense to me. But 1 colorless, and then the Jund colors. 2 in a black, you sack a dude. Every other player sacks a dude. 2 in a red, sack an artifact. Every other player sacks an artifact. 2 in a green, sack an enchantment. Every other dude sacks an enchantment. I think that's just 20 times better than Prosh.
Well, I agree with that, but I personally I like the kobold flavor aspect.
Yeah.
But I think
I could see him being one of the 99.
Yeah.
Especially putting in 6 dudes.
Yeah. Just that fact. But I do like the kobold aspect because I don't know, I just like kobolds. They're really terrible. And that makes me like them. But the Shattergang brothers is definitely a better commander in my opinion. Yeah.
All right.
And definitely easier to build around.
Yeah. So then last, we're actually not going to go over like what I planned on because we're actually running long. We're already like an hour and 18 minutes, and probably people have already turned us off. So we could probably say whatever we want at this point.
Nobody's listening right now. We can say whatever we want.
Nobody is listening. My armpits smell like Fruit Loops. What? Why? Anyway. We got the other one I want to go over, and then we'll go over the rest next time, is the Opal Palace, which is the land. It's the new quote-unquote command tower. Tap it for 1 mana, colorless, or you could pay 1 colorless and tap it to add 1 color of any color in your commander's identity. But then also, if you spend this money to cast the commander specifically, you can enter the battlefield with the number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the number of times it has been cast from the command zone in this game.
Yes. So I don't think it's it's very good.
Yes.
But I think it's probably a good thing for Commander because and the fact that command towers getting reprinted in like every single one is a good thing.
And Soul Ring as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of those things combo to make a very good thing because we want Commander mana fixing to be accessible to new players. I think you could combo this with things like Derevi.
That's gonna get ridiculous.
I don't know actually. See, mana to cast your commander. You have to actually cast it though.
No, it's just how many times it was cast. It gets that many 1/1 counters.
Yeah, you have to actually cast it with the mana though. So it would be good with Marath, I think.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh
yes.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So
or Parash.
So, yeah, or Parash too.
Just because it'll get bigger.
It'll
be
make
able
it
to
bigger.
do the the one.
I mean, it's more specifically
win.
commanders that care about +1/+1 counters.
Gave.
Gave. Vishkal, I think, is a popular commander that uses +1/+1 counters. So I don't think it's an auto include in every single commander deck. Maybe it is. But it's
even just the color fixing, I think is fine.
I mean,
like,
if you
it's a good budget thing.
If you look at just the color fixing, it's essentially a what is it? Shimmering Grotto.
Yeah,
or,
but again, if you're on a budget and you can't afford the dual lands and the
I wouldn't even run it on a. I wouldn't run it on a
really.
Budget. I would run it only. I would only run it if your commander interacts with +1/+1 counters. That's the only time I would run it. I don't think it's very good. Personally.
Doubling season.
Yeah, I mean, if you have if your deck is running doubling season in some aspect and you care about the +1/+1 counters, then I would run it. Otherwise, it's just I don't think it's worth it most of the time.
All right, so that will end. I know I didn't get to rant, which is slightly upsetting actually. But
I was talking the ranting time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't get to talk about the second-class citizenship of Magic Online.
Next time.
Yeah, by that time, like my rant will seem less valid since it's like only will be 2 weeks away. But that's fine. I can rant in general. I enjoy it. I'll just rant to you after we stop the podcast. All right, so that was episode 1. Hopefully not the last of the Walking the Planks podcast. Next time we're gonna have a special treat, I guess. We're gonna have Kevin on the podcast. So what I need you guys to do is any questions that you've ever once answered by Kevin, like for example, what does rogues have to do with pirates? I know it will be one that I'm willing to ask. As long as it's respectful, it's not rude, and I mean it doesn't have to be like you could ask something serious. I'm more than happy to ask him whatever you want. As long as it's not disrespectful or rude, nothing about religion or politics or any of that stuff. Make it if it's about magic or whatever.
Magic politics, you can ask.
Magic politicking is fine, but anything else no. But if you want to go ahead and send me that, you can send that to SithLord066roguedeck@gmail.com. Again, that's SithLord066roguedeck@gmail.com. And when I interview him next week. It's so weird to say that. Like when I interview the guy who, I talk to on like usually every couple weeks or on the phone, but whatever. When we interview him, we'll go ahead and hopefully get some of your questions that we can ask on the next podcast. So hopefully it wasn't too painful. I know it did go a little long, about an hour and a half, but that's actually not too terrible. Unfortunately, as you can tell right now, this is not on any podcast format because that is actually a lot more complicated than I had initially anticipated. See, I was under the impression you could just, I'll upload to iTunes, not realizing that you absolutely cannot do that. That's not even a thing.
No.
So this is why we're putting it on the YouTube channel. To sort of test the waters as the pilot episode or whatever. But to be honest, like it's something I want to do. I'll just do it anyway. Like even if I got like 15 views, I don't care. And like 14 of them will be me.
You're gonna get 15 views, 14 dislikes, and
yeah. I don't care. Like you just see me like watching. I want to watch it again. I want to watch it again. Anyway, So yeah, that was the end of the. This is the end of the show. Wish you guys a happy Halloween. Sorry there wasn't a Halloween themed anything, but since this is the first episode, I really couldn't do it. And believe me, I ranted to Nate about that earlier too. I had all kinds of cool ideas. Guess I'm gonna have to wait a year now. And so yeah, go ahead and say your goodbyes, I guess.
All right. Well, see you next time, everybody. If you want to contact me, I'm Cage Knight 1 on Moto, which is the most common place to find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
No emails for
it.
you people. Just if you ain't
I'm
on
not
Magic
going to give my
Online,
email because I only have a personal email. So.
Yeah, well, I have like 3, but like obviously the Rogue Deck one was created specifically for,
Yes.
But yeah, so anyway, again, you guys have a happy Halloween, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Again, I'm MJ Conroy, aka Sith Lord 066, saying I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. Have a good day.